Hi, everyone. Welcome to the SIR Medical Student Council Annual Business Meeting. My name is Hanson, the incoming chair for the Medical Student Council, and I'd like to take this opportunity to discuss with everyone the past accomplishments of the MSc, as well as our future directions. We hope this business meeting will not only be informative and help showcase the MSc, but help you learn about the ways that you can get involved. And I just want to thank everyone for joining us tonight. So in terms of the agenda for tonight, it's going to include an introduction to the MSc Governing Council, an overview of the MSc structure, achievements and initiatives for each of the committees. This will be especially important for those looking to get involved, as we will outline the different initiatives and projects of each committee. After each committee chair shares his or her agenda, we will provide an overview of the application process and give our advice for the applicants. If there are any remaining time at the end, we will try to answer any submitted questions. So just some general webinar rules. We will be muting everybody except the panelists' mics throughout the webinar. And that is to minimize the background noise. However, if you have any specific questions or comments, please feel free to type into the chat box and select SIR staff to submit your questions as well as comments. If you select SIR staff, your questions will only be visible to us and not to the other attendees. Please keep in mind that everything is recorded in this webinar, so anything that may be deemed inappropriate or irrelevant will be removed from the webinar before it is posted. Thank you all for your cooperation. So the mission of the MSc is to promote the practice of interventional radiology to students passionate about the ideas that embody the future of IR. With all of your help, we aim to further propel IR to the forefront of clinical medicine and patient care by providing the resources as well as a community that will help recruit the most passionate and brightest minds to our specialty and help them aid in their training. So the idea of the SIR Resident and Fellow Section, or RFS for short, which is the parent organization of the MSc, first started in 2009 at the SIR annual meeting then. That year, Dr. Vaticancherry met with a number of passionate residents who were interested in expanding the clinical aspects of IR and helped form the RFS that year. The MSc grew out of the RFS in 2012, at first focusing on promoting our IR interest group across the nation. Throughout the last few years, the MSc has blossomed immensely and is now comprised of 8 different committees with almost 100 members, as well as an additional group of students in the medical student reserves. We are immensely proud of the growth of IR and the MSc, and we know that with your help, we will continue to pursue our mission. So in terms of the structure of the MSc, it is led by the MSc chair with the help of our resident and faculty advisors, whom I will introduce shortly. So the MSc chair is part of the governing council, along with the 8 different committee chairs, as well as the MSR chair. The MSc committee chairs' terms extend from the current annual meeting to the next annual meeting, with applications for these committees opening once a year shortly after the annual meeting. Each of the committees have around 10 to 20 students led by a committee chair, and they have a monthly meeting where they discuss their individual committee projects. Then the chairs of the committees will meet together once a month to share with each other their committee's projects, as well as foster collaborations and other opportunities. As of last year, we have also introduced the medical student reserves, which takes applications on a rolling basis. As medical students, we understand that we all have limited time and our schedule can really fluctuate depending on the module or rotation we are on. Thus, the medical student reserves led by the MSR chair allows students to help on short-term projects, minimum 1 month, using their limited time and help introduce them to the MSc and hopefully eventually transition to being a MSc committee member. So now I'll briefly introduce the members of the MSc leadership team. So once again, my name's Hanson Lee. I'm a third-year medical student at the Medical College of Georgia, and I have the immense honor and privilege of serving as your incoming chair of the MSc. I had the incredible fortune of being introduced to IR early in my medical school career and went on to join the MSc as a webmaster starting in my M1 year. Since then, I have served as the webmaster chair and worked intimately with each of our committee and committee chairs to help display our work on our RFS website. I'm following the footsteps of our outgoing MSc chair, Lauren Park, who has done an amazing job leading and expanding the MSc. She has also advocated for our initiatives and influence within the Society of Interventional Radiology. She has really set the example of how to lead such a great organization. In terms of our advisors, we have Dr. Vatican Cherry, who has helped fund or helped start the Medical Student Council as well as the RFS. We also have Dr. Kumar, who's the faculty advisor from SARC, as well as David Maldo and Dr. Shantanu, who is the chair of the RFS. We will be working intimately with all of them to help with our projects as well as find collaboration between all these different organizations. Here's our governing council from last year. We had Rebecca Lee, who was our resident chair. We had Lauren as our chair, Aaron as our vice chair, Jessica as our biodesign and innovations chair, Sana as our education chair, Colton as our patient and family-centered care chair, as well as Chris, who was the chair of PR and communications, Leanne, who was the chair of research, and as well as myself, who was the chair for the Web and Technology Committee. Moving on to our new incoming governing council, Lauren will become the resident chair. I will be leading as the chair of the MSc. We have Lindsay leading the medical student reserves. We have Fred leading the Biodesign and Innovations Committee, Ilana for the Education Committee, as well as Lisa for the IR Interest Group, Samir for the Patient and Family-Centered Care, Adam for the PR and Communications Committee, Brian for the Research Committee, and Shannon for the Diversity and Inclusions Committee. In terms of our key accomplishments from the last governing council, we saw an increase in the medical student membership within SIR, as well as displayed in this graphic right here. We can see that we have an continued growth in our medical student membership. In addition, we have medical student interest groups that increase 40%, as well as a 33% increase in IRIG symposia across the nation. We also have 85 annual meeting MIT scholars that will be attending the SIR meeting this year. In addition to those expansion of the MSc, we also expanded in terms of our committees. So the Diversity and Inclusion Committee was a new committee this year, and the MSc Reserves is another avenue for students to get involved as well. In addition to those accomplishments, we have also been working on integrating with the plans of SARC, ECS, as well as RFS, and have been working immensely with them, and they have really provided great mentorship and collaboration for us. We also had a redesign of our website that vastly improved our website traffic retention, as well as overall page views. We hope that the content that we put on our website will greatly help the students as well as trainees that may visit them. I just want to take this time to thank all of those involved in the 2018-2019 MSc Governing Council, as well as RFS, SARC, and SIR for contributing to all of these efforts. In terms of my initiatives for this upcoming term, we hope to continue to expand our medical student memberships, as well as SIR annual meeting attendance. This year especially, we have been working with the medical student reserves on creating a student travel guide to help those planning to make it to the annual meeting, to make the process a smooth and easy one for them, as well as help them find available housing and travel plans. We also aim to continue to support and expand our IR interest group, as well as student symposia across the country, and hope to foster stronger relationships with our colleagues at each institution to help better promote events, as well as developing a support system between the leaders of each school. We also aim to reach out to low IR exposure schools, as well as undergraduates, to further get out the word of our new residencies. As the chair, I also hope to increase our project collaborations with SARC as well as RFS. And we want to do that by first aligning our committees and projects. And we have been doing that by utilizing a project management system called Trello, where we have been displaying all of our accomplishments as well as progress on there. We also hope to foster peer-to-peer discussions on SIR Connect, Student Doctor Network, as well as other platforms, so we can create a community where all of us feel comfortable sharing our thoughts and discuss upcoming events on there. We also hope to expand our social media presence via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and other platforms, so that we can showcase the things that we have been doing, as well as the events that we are planning to host. In terms of medical student education, we hope to strengthen and increase our educational resources on our website, as well as our YouTube page. And finally, we really want to promote our diversity and inclusion initiatives so that we can help make the future of IR an even better one. So now I'll hand over to Fred, who will be discussing the BioDesign and Innovations Committee.
All right, good evening, everyone. My name is Fred Kwan, and I'm an MD PhD student at Mount Sinai. I'm a third-year student, which means I just began my first year of PhD studies. I have big shoes to fill. Jessica was a great leader for us in the past year. She's currently an MS4 student at Georgetown, and congratulations to her for matching into Brown for IR. Next slide, please. So here's our mission statement, and we'll show you exactly how we went about accomplishing the mission statement in the following slides. So first and foremost, we want to expose IR to medical students and early trainees to all the biodesign processes that occur in a particular field, which really can help foster excitement for innovation. And to do so, we need to educate, that is to teach the students of the basics of biodesign and how to begin thinking like an innovator. And based on that knowledge, we begin to challenge our participants with opportunities to think about solving clinical problems. And in accomplishing this challenge, we really encourage collaboration between not just medical students, but multi-level collaboration with many, many faculty and resident volunteers who have participated in our events. Next slide, please. So what we have accomplished so far this year is, first and foremost, the Medical Student Hackathon, or more correctly termed the pitch competition. The theme for this year's presentation was genitourinary and gynecological interventions. We had 8 attending judges and 14 teams registered, one of whom was an international team from India. We had 7 total final submissions, and 1 top team from Florida International University is set to give an oral presentation at the Biodesign Workshop at the annual SIR meeting this year in Austin this weekend. And we also heard from 1 team from Albany who will continue to pursue their project, not only in the device development, but also pursue a patent so that they can potentially monetize their project as well. The webinars that we have held so far included Fundamentals of Biodesign, hosted by Drs. Lynn Denon and Brian Hartley from Stanford BioDesign, one of the leaders of the biodesign process itself, and the author of the Stanford BioDesign's textbook, which is used for biodesign everywhere, not just in IR. We had an interventional radiology and global health presentation by Jesse Stewart from UNC, a very, very inspiring presentation that showed the challenges of practicing IR in fields and in areas that didn't have the necessary resources, and how she overcame these challenges. We have Dr. Pratik Shukla from Rutgers set to give the webinar on device development after concept development. So we'll get to hear from the monetization process and continuing to monitor after the devices reach the market on April 1st. So please tune in and wait for any additional details that'll be coming out very soon. And finally, in late April, we have Dr. Charles Ray from University of Chicago, who will give a presentation on how artificial intelligence is used in interventional radiology. It's a little bit more specific than all the other AI applications that we have seen in DR so far. Next slide, please. So we, of course, hope to improve our hackathon experience from this year through the surveys and feedback that we have collected from the participants. Next year, we want to at least have 10 IRIG teams, not just teams that were collected by themselves, but reach out to IRIG teams to have institutional representatives and collect 10 total participants overall. 10 total submissions that have more than 15 attending participants. We also have an industry rep whose name is Bruce Gingles from Cook Medical, who is very interested in this whole project and would like to be very much involved. And the way to involve industry reps is to organize this Shark Tank-like competition for next year, in which the select participants will give a pitch competition like you see in a Shark Tank TV show. And some of the judges will include the attending physicians who will volunteer their time, some of the IP specialists like lawyers, and of course industry representatives as well. And we wish to continue our regular webinar series, expand upon what we have done in the past year that feature interventional radiologists, innovators, and experts in product development. So topics will include introduction to biodesign process, in case you missed a very wonderful presentation from the Stanford biodesign team, needs finding and screening, career highlights in device development, and of course, new technologies in device development. Next slide, please. And the new project that we have in mind centers around collaboration between MSc and RFS. So what we hope to do is create a biodesign curriculum for the various medical student symposia that have been occurring in the past year. We wish to expand upon our current committee and involve IRIG, Interventional Radiology Interest Group members, to present and educate medical students on the fundamentals of biodesign. So this will be based on the workshop that will be given to preclinical students at the annual meeting in Austin this weekend. And it will mostly be an exploratory hands-on activity on the design process. In addition to the collaboration within the Medical Student Council, we'll also have the residents and fellows be involved. We'll be working with our RFS counterpart, Research and Innovation Committee, to create a go-to webpage for information related to the hackathon and resources for students interested in pursuing a biodesign project overall. So not only a curriculum on the biodesign, but a list of mentors who will volunteer their time and allow us to list their contact information for anyone interested in reaching out to them. And additionally, on the website, we hope to contribute to a timeline that we've been building of major innovations, as you can see in the bottom left, that start from 1950s all the way to the present, just so that students who are just learning the field of interventional radiology can get an appreciation for how the field has changed over time. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to me at sir.msc.biodesign@gmail.com. Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Alana Breen, and I will be serving as the education chair for the next year. I am a second-year medical student at Mayo Clinic School of Medicine in Scottsdale, Arizona. And I want to start by first applauding the hard work of the former chair, Sana Herwald, and by thanking her for her guidance during this transition. I'd also like to say how honored and thrilled I am to serve in this position for the next year, and I look forward to a year of productivity and partnership. Next slide, please. So the mission of the SIR-MSc Education Committee is to create and publish educational materials about interventional radiology that are accurate, useful, and accessible to our audiences, which include medical trainees, prospective patients, and the general public. I'd also like to take this time to announce the launch of our two flagship projects for this next year, one being the High Yield IR Preclinical Education Curriculum Initiative, and the other being the IR for Kiddos series. The published educational materials of the Education Committee can be found on the IR website by clicking the Medical Students drop-down menu and choosing the Introduction to IR and Sound of IR podcast links. The link to the MSc YouTube channel, which contains our published video content, can be found by navigating to the Introduction to IR page and clicking Watch Some Common IR Procedures. I would be remiss if I failed to highlight the hard work and achievements of this past year's members. I would like to acknowledge and thank all of the podcast subcommittee members who researched, scripted, and recorded the Sounds of IR podcast episodes displayed on this page. In addition, I'd like to feature the presentation subcommittee members for the well-curated educational presentations spanning a wide array of topics displayed on this slide here. I would especially like to recognize Gail Stanton and Malika Rizier for the creation of the presentation how-to template, which has standardized and streamlined the publication of our presentation materials. And finally, I would like to recognize the video subcommittee members for their excellent work in producing high-quality, high-yield content. A special shout-out to Medical Student Reserve member Amir Olfat and to our own member, Gail Stanton, for constructing the exceedingly well-crafted standardized video how-to resource. Switching gears, I would like to convey to you all the vision of the Education Committee for this next year. As previously mentioned, one of our premier projects for the next year will be the creation of a high-yield preclinical IR curriculum series, a project that is the brainchild of one of our own talented members, Varun Singh. Another student, first-year medical student, Varun Danda, has also worked hard on this project. The purpose is to create a high-yield video series of interventional radiology through the publication of systems-based modules. It will be composed of video clips. For those of you familiar with the Boards and Beyond, we are using that platform as our inspiration. Written compendia, quizzes, and Anki decks. The goal for the next year is to produce 2 complete modules. And finally, we are excited to announce the launch of the IR for Kiddos series. The goal of this endeavor is to design educational materials to kids who are undergoing IR procedures and need age-appropriate materials to learn what to expect. There are amazing resources at doctors' offices for kids with asthma or epilepsy, but where are the resources for kids with osteoid-osteoma ablations? We are excited to announce partnerships with children's hospitals and are actively recruiting child life specialists as advisors. Dr. A.R.T. Luhar, pediatric interventional radiologist at UCLA, will serve as our faculty mentor for this project. Next slide, please. This has been a 50,000-foot overview, so I invite you to reach out via the email on this slide to learn more about the committee. Each of you listening is talented, creative, and passionate, and we welcome you to apply to the Education Committee to help make our vision a reality. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, my name's Lisa. I'm a third-year medical student at Rush, and I'm very excited to serve as the IR Interest Group Committee leader for the next year. And as everyone has reiterated already, I'm stepping into some very big shoes left by Ricky Korf, who is a MS4 at our Einstein. And congratulations, Ricky, again on matching to Sinai this past week. Next slide, please. So the IR interest group at its core, basically, we promote medical student interest and involvement in the field of IR by supporting the activities of local IRIGs. This entails supporting creation of new IRIGs, as well as supporting current IRIGs that about how to host certain types of events, or if they need certain event ideas, or if they want to connect with one another for publicity purposes or for networking. Next slide, please. Key accomplishments. One of the main things that we monitor numerically is the number of interest groups that are registered with the SIR-MSC, as well as we've also started measuring the number of symposiums that are hosted by students, organized by students that relate to IR. The blue line is the line charting the number of interest groups registered. As you can see, it's been on a steady incline to match along with the interest in IR that has been increasing nationwide in medical students. In order to register as an interest group, all you need are 2 interested members at a school who are meeting at least once a year to talk about IR. So it's a fairly liberal definition. However, we keep that open so that we can start that connection with IR interested individuals at a school, and then further encourage greater membership and greater events. Symposium-wise, this number has, previous slide, please. Symposium-wise, this number has also been increasing. As you can see, in 2014 to 15 academic year, it was 10 student-organized symposiums, and now this past academic year, we're up to 33. Next slide, please. In terms of some other projects that we've been working on this past year under Ricky's leadership, the main thing that Ricky has been championing and starting, which I think is a great idea, is the liaison project as part of the overall tracking of number of interest groups. In this liaison project, each IRIG committee member is assigned as a liaison to interest groups, kind of organized by region. So we try to keep it like if you're a student, for example, I'm a student at Rush, I was a liaison for all of the Illinois schools and a lot of the schools in the Midwest. In addition, we are constantly working on roadmap and other resources for for interest groups and interest group leaders. Things like how to start an interest group, how to find funding for a symposium that you want to host or other events that you might want to host, as well as directing them to the educational resources that Ilana just spoke about on the website. We have a subgroup within our committee, specifically the symposium group. This incoming leader is Jordan Wells. Our outgoing leader is Julia D'Souza, who did an amazing job. Several things fall under the symposium subgroup, including a survey project to collect the data from students who attend the symposium. We have a cookbook up on the website giving advice on how to organize a symposium. There are student symposium highlights that students organizers can submit to us that we will then put up on the website. And then also we had our first annual virtual symposium hosted at the University of Colorado and then broadcasted via webinar style to anyone who was able to tune in. And that was a wonderful success, and we're hoping to repeat that this year as well. In addition, we do have our own section on the SIR-RFS and MSc website. This includes maps like the one that was shown at the beginning of my section of this presentation, as well as tables of different interest groups on those maps. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. So in addition to continuing to lead, could we please go back to the new project slide? Thank you. So in addition to the liaison project, which will be continuing and is something that every committee member is involved in, there are a couple initiatives that I would like to focus on this upcoming year. Number one, very near and dear to my heart, is diversity and inclusion outreach. As Hansen mentioned, we do have a new diversity and inclusion committee that is a part of MSc. So we will be working very closely with Shannon Sullivan and that committee for this particular initiative. There is a program called an IR outreach program that was started a couple years ago by interested attendings and residents, where they identified schools with a diverse student demographic that was defined as greater than 10% underrepresented minority students with limited resources to explore IR, i.e. there's no IR faculty or department there. They identified those schools, reached out to them, and identified student ambassadors to try to start IRICs at those schools. So those attendings and residents, Dr. Kumar specifically was kind of at the head of this, is hoping to really pass on the responsibilities of this to MSc and specifically the IRIC committee and diversity inclusion committee, since we are the students and the IRIC members are student ambassadors are students, and we will have that kind of connection of where they're coming from and the challenges they're facing in starting their IRICs that way. So we'll be kind of more on the ground level for this. We also are focusing on international outreach, as well as Henry Zito, one of the members currently in M4 and matched to Christiana this year. But last year he started this focus on DO school outreach as well, which I think is really important. Secondly, we want to be focusing on branching out to pre-med outreach, so targeting undergraduate students who are interested in the field of medicine but may not have ever heard of interventional radiology. So just kind of getting that seed in there, getting that word out there that this is what IR is. And basically that we would just be encouraging IRIGs that are at medical schools attached to undergraduates to cater to the pre-med level, utilizing honor societies, pre-med listservs, etc. And then another thing that I really want to focus on is one of my favorite things about IR, one of the reasons why I love IR so much is the community. So I want to focus on being able to connect the IR community, specifically the student community, closer together, connecting IRICs closer together, connecting IRIC leaders to RFS and also to us. So really facilitating that communication between all parties. And then as well, there is room for individual committee member projects as well. So while these are kind of the general goals that the committee will be aiming for, if you have a project that you're passionate about and want to present and are able to work on, you may find other committee members who want to work on it with you and partner up with, then we have room for that as well. Next slide, please. Right, so just to summarize our goals for this year, collaboration is the big theme. For the Tracking Liaison project, we definitely are on that great linear growth for the number of groups. And what I want to do is make sure that we have the most updated contact information for all schools. That definitely can be a little tricky, and we're going to be working on creating a system where the updating process becomes more automatic so that we don't miss a year and end up not necessarily having the most up-to-date info. Symposiums, we want to encourage more collaborative symposiums between IRICs, as well as smaller symposiums that are occurring for each school as well. So if we can, we want to get IRICs to work together. We will be updating the cookbook with tips on hosting larger symposiums. We're going to hopefully have a second annual virtual symposium. We're going to continue symposium highlights. For diversity inclusion outreach, for IROP, we want to support the existing IRICs at these IROP schools, as well as reach out to IROP schools without IRICs to see if we can help get those started. Already discussed pre-med outreach, and for connecting everyone socially on social networks, we will be working on connecting IRIC leaders with RFS members at their school, as well as other people in their region. We will be utilizing the email listserv for IRIC leaders more often, but hopefully still in a very streamlined manner to provide valuable communications of opportunities that people might be interested in. And also, we are thinking about creating a Facebook group for IRIC leaders to provide a more casual social environment to discuss things like, hey, I'm going to be in this area. Does anyone have a couch I can crash on? Or can anyone meet up with me for coffee to talk about the IR program at their school or anything like that? So like I said, IR, my favorite thing about it is community. So hoping to facilitate that a little bit more this year. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Samir Singhal. I'm an MS3. Glad to be taking over and coming as chair of the Patient and Family-Centered Care Committee. I have to say thank you to Colton Welch, who's the outgoing chair, for all the tremendous work he's done in propelling this committee and helping advance everything that we've done in the last year. So the way, just to kind of summarize how I look at the Patient Family-Centered Care Committee, is kind of thinking as, if you were a family member, if you were someone undergoing an IR procedure, kind of what was the relationship that you'd like to have with your provider be? And so what we want to do is kind of make IR into one of the specialties where people think of it as where they'll go to get, the best healthcare in terms of procedures, but also have the best patient-doctor relationship and really have that partner as they go through their healthcare journey. And we want to work on kind of bringing IR to this point in terms of having patients recognize this in IR, but also providing great training for medical students and residents to make sure that we can develop providers who are really capable and really good at providing this type of care. And so kind of some of our goals are to serve as a resource for both patients and trainees in this aspect, really empowering patients and their families. We want to give them educational materials to make sure that they know as much as they can about their patient experience, regardless of what procedure they're having. And also we want to prepare medical students for their practice and really gear IR towards becoming a really good patient-centered medical specialty. So some of the projects that we've currently been working on the last year, one of the first one is patient narratives. Briefly, patient narratives is a series of interviews with patients kind of going over their story and what their experience is like in IR, just so we can capture that for different procedures and then provide that as a resource for patients who might be unfamiliar to IR, might be unfamiliar to hospital care, and let them be able to get a glimpse into what their future experience might be like. This really helps alleviate some of their anxiety, answer some of their questions. It's really powerful for patients to be able to communicate indirectly like that, one-on-one, just so that they have a sense of what they're going to experience. And we're constantly adding to our library of what procedures we've had talked about. So things such as Y90, peripheral vascular disease, renal aneurysms. So things from kind of the bread and butter IR procedures to more rare ones, just so that we can make sure that every patient, regardless of their experience, has a resource they can turn to. We also have patient-centered care videos where these are recorded interviews so that patients can kind of see face-to-face other patients as they talk about their experiences. And we've also had some great articles put out in the past year, particularly by one committee member, Alan Nathan. Some of his articles have been about women in IR and also just some different updates that we've had with the research in our committee too. Yep. For our projects as we look forward to the next year, 2019 to 2020, of course we want to expand the library of our patient care videos and narratives. We're always looking to keep these up to date and to get more procedures, just so we make sure every patient can have something they can turn to in terms of resources. We're also looking more towards different articles with Alan Nathan, looking at Twitter and IR. How can this benefit providers? How can this benefit trainees and patients? Just to stay in touch and keep IR as patient-centered as we can. And then some of the new things that we're looking at is kind of expanding the ways that we can develop resources for patients. What else do people want? What else would they benefit from? One of the things would be an audio series, and the goal for this would be to create something more casual where you can have a conversational style between maybe a medical student, a patient, and their provider to really probe what their relationship was like, so that people can hear from patients and providers about what IR is all about and how we try to help people and partner with them. We want patients to know more about us than a lot of people currently do. And one of the upcoming goals for this year is to develop a webinar. One of the ideas we have is to kind of maybe talk to younger medical students about IR. A lot of people aren't really exposed to IR in their early years of medical school. And so we want to let them know that, IR is a field here and we want to help patients. We want to see patients and we want to help be their partners in their care and make sure that we're there at every step in providing the care and afterwards. And we want to kind of give maybe perspectives of older trainees, residents, and medical students so that they know what it's about and they can learn. Can we go forward? Oh, here we go. Yep. So overall, in terms of our goals, we want to overall facilitate the development of a more patient-centered focus. Some of our core things is those patient-centered narratives and videos. And for the next year, we want to kind of expand upon that with the audio interview series. And then the other tenet of this is to provide resources and training for the students and residents that are going to be providing that care and make sure that we have providers that are really good at providing this for patients. And some of the things we want to do is focus on webinars in terms of educating providers of all levels, and then also focusing on how IR can be, not just the consulting team, but also the primary team, and making sure that our providers know how to take care of patients and be there at every step. And if you have any questions, please reach out to us at sir.msc.pfcc@gmail.com. Looking forward to your questions. Thanks.
Hey everyone, my name is Adam Swirsky. I'm a third-year medical student at the University of Miami Miller School of Medicine. I want to thank Chris Zinsmeister, who was the outgoing chair and did a great job in both his position and in transitioning me. And on the same note, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the leadership that Hansen has been demonstrating in his new role, as well as the fantastic job that Lauren did last year. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the PR and Communications Committee. Next slide, please. So the goal of PR and Communications, it's pretty self-explanatory. We want to provide useful, educational, and exciting content that serves to inform and attract medical students to the field of interventional radiology. Now this, when you're listening to all of these other great chairs talk about the things that their committee do. Our goal on the PRCC committee is to basically just be the mouthpiece for the Medical Student Council and show off the things that we're doing and try to recruit more people and try to find new ways to advertise the field of interventional radiology to medical students. Next slide, please. So some key accomplishments from the past year and past 2 years, really. We focus a lot of our time on posting articles and blog posts on the SIR-RFS website. There's a whole bunch of old articles that range from disease-focused articles to procedures to research innovations, and more recently, as these articles generate more clicks, we've been focusing a lot on articles such as, IR interview trail, application process, things like that, that, you can't really get that information other than through word of mouth. So it's something that we work on, is providing kind of an MSc sponsored view on the application process to interventional radiology. And we're, in the future, we're going to be looking for students to cover new topics and expand on old ones as well. Probably the main part of what we do is focus on social media. And I'm sure you are all very familiar with social media, but we are active on Instagram, we're active on Facebook, and we're active on Twitter. So I definitely recommend following those accounts, especially on Twitter. It seems to be very popular in the IR community to talk about interventional radiology on Twitter, and it's a good way to really network. So if you're listening to this and you don't have a Twitter yet, I recommend at least checking it out. Going forward, we're really going to try to expand growth on social media, that both on the existing accounts we have and also on some newer platforms such as Reddit and Student Doctor Network, Ant Mini, which is a radiology specific forum, and also JiggleMed, which is kind of a new forum that focuses on the BIODESIGN and industry side of interventional radiology. And additionally, we're working with, as I mentioned, we work with all of the committees, but we like to promote the Sound of IR podcast, and we're proud to say that we had 80,000 listeners in the past year. So I hope you guys are all listening to that. Next slide, please. So again, we have these blog posts. This is actually a screenshot, I guess, from the old website, but we have a lot of articles on social media. We also try to spotlight physicians and, of course, advertise all the events. One big thing we did was a Peripheral Arterial Disease Awareness Month campaign in September, which was a big goal of the SARC and SIR at large. Pretty much, as a committee, we actually have a large role in kind of promoting IR. As a lot of people have mentioned, we can do a lot from the Medical Student Council perspective on promoting the field of interventional radiology. To other specialties, to the best and brightest med students. All these things are really important to the future of our field. So the more people that know about what we can do, the better. So we're trying to do that from all angles. Another big project that we started last year is a revamp of the Wikipedia page for interventional radiology. As if you go look at it, it's a really kind of outdated page with a lot of procedure focus, and it's not comprehensive at all. So what we've been doing is taking a disease focus, kind of even like a patient and family centered care focus that encompasses, what the goals are of the clinical IR residency. Next slide, please. And so for the upcoming year, we want to really continue to publish articles about interventional radiology, and we'd love to explore new ideas for articles, as well as, like I said, updating the old ones. One thing that's interesting, that's really great, is that it's an internal peer review process. So the members of our committee all read each other's work and edit it, and that's what leads to the best outcome. And then, like I said, we're going to strengthen our social media campaign. We're also going to continue and put out this Wikipedia page. But really, like I said, we're looking for any avenue for PR presence. We're trying to find ways to reach new people that we're not reaching currently. Physicians and other specialties might be a big focus of this year that I'm excited about. Next slide, please. And that's all I have for today. Thanks again to Hanson for putting this meeting together. If anybody has any questions about the PR and Communications Committee, you can email us at the email below. Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Thank you, Adam. My name is Ryan Abood. I'm a rising MS3 at Wake Forest University. I'd like to give a big thank you for Leanne Dumney and all the leadership in MSc. This year, next slide, please. This past year and the research committee, our mission has been to educate trainees on how to engage in IR research. And it's to make research more accessible to students and articles more accessible to students. It's also been to increase and enhance collaboration and connection between researchers at all levels. Our primary objective has been to train the future IR physician scientists, and we do that through multiple modalities, as we're about to talk about. Next slide, please. Our first objective has been to summarize literature, and we do that through two different types of media. One is through the article series we do, and that's called The Future of IR. We summarize landmark articles, which are basically 1 to 2 page summaries of landmark articles in interventional radiology. Another type of media we use is the Journal Club, and that is a vodcast, which is also a summary of articles with the added benefit of an online forum to ask questions and to discuss the landmark article of the month. And we also have an upper level attending who helps moderate and has a Q&A discussion at the end of the podcast to discuss that article. Regarding mentorship, we have a physician scientist spotlight series where there's an interview with a physician and a current IR physician scientist, and we publish that interview online where you can learn about what that physician does for research. And we also broadcast student physicians in their work in interventional radiology research. We have a research collaborative effort, which is currently in the works, and it is a national collaborative effort to allow students across the United States and the world to interact and reach out to one another for research collaboration. In terms of educational resources, there's a research cookbook which has been developed by our committee members, and it discusses multiple aspects of data analysis. There's a stats primer and a clinical research primer, and a slew of other chapters on cell culturing and translational research, which has been developed. Next slide, please. 2019, our goals are to expand upon existing projects with timely and continued content release, and we're always seeking new ways to excite students about interventional radiology research. We also are aiming to improve outreach of our materials via social media liaison and IR interest group communication. The enhanced collaboration with other committees is currently ongoing. We'd also like to continue that, especially with the BIODESIGN committee in 2019. Next slide. This is all of our content that we've been working on, and the titles of our current initiatives and our contact information at the bottom. If you're interested in research and interventional radiology, please feel free to reach out. we'd love to have you on our team.
Hello, everyone. I'm Shannon Sullivan. I am a third year at Howard University College of Medicine in Washington, D.C., and I'm the chair of the brand new Diversity and Inclusion Committee. So I thank Hanson and Lauren for all of their support in helping to establish this position and the committee. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the mission of the Diversity and Inclusion Committee is threefold. So we aim to promote diversity of trainees entering the field of IR. We also hope to provide IR outreach initiatives and contribute to patient advocacy within underserved patient populations. And finally, we intend to collaborate with and support the efforts of the SIR Diversity and Inclusion Recruitment Committee and the SIR Diversity Task Force, both of which are led by awesome IR physicians and faculty, one of whom is Dr. Kumar, who's one of the Medical Student Council advisors. So I thank him for all of his support in this committee as well. Next slide, please. So we have several ambitious projects for the upcoming year, some of which are currently underway, including the IR Minority Treatment Awareness Outreach Program, in which we're highlighting IR interventions as treatment options for disease states that disproportionately affect certain demographic groups. And we're using social media and various educational programs to educate the broader IR community and the general public on these health disparities, and we're encouraging the IR health professionals to address these community needs. Some of our other projects include peer-to-peer mentoring mini sessions with residents so that we can connect medical students and residents who identify as women, underrepresented minorities, or as part of the LGBTQ community. And then we're also collaborating with the Medical Student Reserves and Women in IR for various initiatives as well. Next slide, please. So I just wanted to show two of the graphics that Samantha Chow has done a wonderful job on. This was for our IR Minority Treatment Awareness Outreach Program for Black History Month last month, and we were able to have some amazing graphics on peripheral artery disease. And these are shared on the RFS website as well as on our social media platforms. So we've been able to educate the IR community and the general population on what is peripheral artery disease, as well as the health disparities that exist and how IR can help to close those disparities. So we are working closely with Samantha as well as Greg Kodorov on the Medical Student Reserves on creating more graphics for our upcoming initiatives. So we're excited to see what they can come up with next. So in terms of our goals, one of our primary goals is definitely to increase membership. And with the upcoming Medical Student Council application cycle, we're hoping to bring on at least 10 new members so that they can help contribute to our initiatives. Right now, we have about 6 to 8 students involved in the committee, many of which are here today and are also involved in other committees. So I definitely appreciate their involvement, having to balance both their own committees and helping out with the Diversity Inclusion Committee. So I thank them for all of their hard work so far. And then we'll also be collaborating on initiatives with other council committees. As Lisa mentioned earlier, we'll be working closely with the IR Interest Group Committee on the Interventional Radiology Outreach Program, which is close to me because that's actually how I got my start with SIR-RFS, and I've been able to see the positive impact that it can make, especially at Howard. So I look forward to working closely with Lisa and our committees together to helping other schools around the country get exposed to IR and establish their own interest groups. So with that, I thank you all for your support. I look forward to an exciting year of diversity and inclusion. And I thank you again for allowing me to be the chair of this new committee. And I'm excited for what's to come. So thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lindsay Masciolik, and I'm the incoming chair for the Medical Student Reserves, and currently a third-year medical student at the University of Texas Medical Branch down in Galveston, Texas. I want to take a moment to thank Erin McBride, whom is our outgoing vice chair of the MSc, for founding the MSR this past May and also laying its framework. I also want to take a second to congratulate Erin on his match to the Cleveland Clinic. I have extremely big shoes to fill taking over the position of the founder of this branch of the MSc, but I'm excited to see what we can accomplish in the coming year. I'm going to start by discussing what the Medical Student Reserves is, for those of you who don't already know, what we've completed so far, and what our goals are moving forward. So overall, the MSR is a companion organization to the MSc, and we provide a pool of medical students to complete shorter term projects in a month's time period during the lighter times of our academic calendars. This is unlike the MSc, which requires a year-long appointment to a position, and they're also continuously working on projects. The beauty of the MSR is that it can also serve as a stepping stone for getting into the MSc, if more consistent involvement is something that you're interested in. So as far as our mission for the MSR, it is to serve as a companion organization to reserve to the MSc, RFS, and SIR-PAC. If you're in any of these groups within the SIR and searching for assistance on projects for a specified period of time, please don't hesitate to reach out to me for assistance in finding MSR members to temporarily join your team. We also aim to create short-term projects that may add to the work being done by these various committees within SIR. I'll speak about these past, current, and future projects momentarily. And lastly, we strive to collaborate with MSc committees to ensure the creation of meaningful work and to prevent duplication of efforts already underway by the various MSc committees. Next slide, please. Within the past 10 months since the creation of the MSR in May of 2018, there has not been a lack of membership or enthusiasm from our members. So as you can see on the chart, the first spike reflects when the MSR was created. So currently we have about 60 active members and 44 alumni members. The alumni of the MSR is comprised of both medical student graduates and also members that have maybe already completed a month commitment to a project and have decided to step down. Our main goal this year, though, is to ensure projects are truly kept within this 1 month commitment that is promised to members when they sign up for the MSR. Our other goals include to increase collaboration with the MSc, RFS, and SIR-PAC. We want to truly act as a resource and quite literally a reserve for them when they need an extra hand on projects. Lastly, we hope to prioritize quality over quantity of work this year. Next slide, please. So some of the projects that have been completed or are nearing completion in our short 10 months of existence include these three. So to begin with the clinical trial summaries, this was a huge project for the MSR, and the driving force behind this work was Ann Saylor of Chicago Medical School and Allison Couillard of Drexel. So this project included completing over 140 summaries of IR randomized clinical trials and many other pertinent subjects. Some of the trial topics included vascular, GI, GU, reproductive, neurology, oncology, critical care, pediatrics, pain management, cardiology, and diabetes. So moving forward with this project, we will be finishing up the work as it's in the final editing steps, but we also have intentions of making this an ongoing project in the MSc with hopes for further collaboration with the RFS journal primer team. And as you can see in the bottom left-hand corner of this slide, it's where you can find what I was kind of just talking about, the trial summaries and also journal primers that are already posted to the website. So the second project that has been completed already by the MSR is the patient narratives and patient-centered video project. So this was completed by a team of MSR members where they created patient narratives, which are written interviews conducted by members with patients who have undergone a variety of IR procedures. This resource serves as a resource to both potential IR patients, but also medical students who want to learn more about the patient experience associated with each procedure. The patient-centered videos are the video versions of these patient narratives and serve a similar purpose. And the last project that's been completed by the MSR since May is the video creation consultation team. So we had a team of MSR members who were utilized as consultants to create videos for SIR. This team has created how-to guides that can be utilized by all SIR members making video content for the SIR or RFS webpage. These guides will be posted to the RFS website relatively soon. Next slide, please. So now to move on to our current and future projects. So the Task Trainer Guides, it's an incredibly useful resource being created by Jordan Taylor of Virginia Tech and his team. And the goal of this project is to create a collection of assembly guides for low-cost task trainers. The purpose of this project is to enable medical students and IRIGs to build their own trainers at their home institution so that they may first develop and practice their skills before having to go into the IR suite and help with some of these procedures. These guides are nearing completion this week, and we hope to have them available under the IR Symposium content on the RFS website, as we think this will be where they'll be utilized the most when people are making their IR symposiums. Next, we have the Introduction to Shadowing and IR Guide. So this project is led by Casey Imbergano at Rutgers. The goal of this project is to provide an overview of setting up shadowing, some things you can do ahead of time to prepare for these experiences, what to expect, and tips on how to make the most of your experience. There are plans to potentially reach out to IRIGs around the country for institution-specific information. This will include the processes to begin shadowing at their institution, whether this is an internal or an external student, and also potentially information important to students completing an away rotation at that institution. And the last project that we currently have underway is resources for pre-medical M1 and M2 students. So this is being completed by Ansh Johri at Penn State, and the mission is to create resources that introduces IR to an undifferentiated med student who may be exploring various career specialties. So currently we have PowerPoints that are available, and we will be brainstorming further ideas for resources for students at this step in their medical career. Next slide, please. If you're interested in joining the MSR or already a member and have an idea for a project proposal, please refer to this slide for the steps in completing that. If you have any questions or comments at all regarding the medical student reserves, please don't hesitate to contact me at the below email. And we're always, as Hanson said at the beginning, we have a rolling admission, so we're always accepting members, and we're really excited for the next year. Thank you so much.
Thanks everyone for presenting. My name is Lauren Park. I'm a fourth-year medical student at Brown and outgoing chair of MSc. I will be an IR resident at Georgetown next year. I just want to take this time and thank all of our, not just our MSc chairs who did an amazing job leading our tremendous number of 97 medical students across all committees, but really we couldn't have accomplished so much this year without all of our amazing, enthusiastic members. And so I would like to present at this time how all of those of you who are listening in could become part of the Medical Student Council. Next slide, please. So this year, our application will actually open after our annual meeting. Before, they were always open beforehand, before the annual meeting, and students could always find out about it while the application is open. But we also wanted to give students the time to enjoy the annual meeting without having to worry about the deadline for the application. And so the application will open March 29th, which is the Friday after all the annual meeting events are over, and it will be available on rfs.sirweb.org. Please check out the website if you haven't done so, and you will be given about 4 weeks to complete the application, and it will be due on April 26th by midnight, and any application that comes in after that will only be considered for the medical student reserves, as Lindsay has mentioned. And all the incoming MSc chairs will be reviewing the applications with me and Hansen, and we'll be making the decision collaboratively. And just to give you guys a heads up that we may decrease the number of members this year. We had 97 this previous year, but we are really looking for motivated students who will stay active throughout the entire year and will be a responsive member as part of the student council. And so, we may have a more strict guidelines for acceptance this year, but I want to make this an opportunity and encourage all of you, to really put in effort into your application. And towards the mid-May, we will allow all the students to know the final result of the application. And you will receive either acceptance into a specific committee that you have requested, or that we thought you would be a better fit for, or reserves for a very specific project or a very specific time period. And we may actually have students that are unassigned. I also just want to mention that starting this past year, we have made a strict guideline for all the students who are currently first to third year in their medical school to apply strictly to the student council and not to any of the RFS service lines. And RFS chairs are aware of this policy as well. And so before, there used to be students as service line members or chairs within RFS, but we are not going to allow that anymore. If you would like to participate in any of the RFS projects, you have to be accepted into the MSc first. And we'll allow you to collaborate with RFS on any other capacity. But if you are a first or a third year student currently, you have to apply into student council. If you are a fourth year medical student like myself, who will be graduating in a few months, we encourage you to apply for RFS. If you have any questions about that, please email us at sir.students@gmail.com. Hanson, next slide, please. So some tips for a successful application, since I have seen a few since the last 2 years. Definitely do some research on what we have done as a student council as well as RFS. Check out our website if you haven't done so, rfs.sirweb.org, and see what kind of projects that we have done so far, what kind of projects that we are interested in doing. We highly encourage you to come up with your own innovative project. Some of our chairs during this business meeting have mentioned some of the projects that really came into fruition because our new members brought up the new idea, the new project idea into the MSc. So that's what we want to see. We want to see all of our members bringing your individual interests and also background to improve the projects that we are doing at MSc. So I encourage everyone to bring forth their own strength, their own interest into their application, and definitely highlight your strengths aside from just copying and pasting your CV onto the application. And show us with tangible deliverables, like if you are great at photography, writing, or graphic design, send us a portfolio. If you have skills in coding and web design, send us a link to projects that you have done before. And if you have been an educator or a teacher and you're really passionate about medical education, send us some material that you have used to teach. We really like seeing tangible items for us to really envision how you could participate in the MSc and integrate your skills into the projects. In addition to that, we also like to see some leadership roles, especially within IR at your school. And of course, if you're a first-year medical student joining an MSc, you may not have the leadership qualifications at your school within the IR, but let us know what other leadership activities that you have participated in undergrad as well, and how that could really incorporate into working together as a team within the student council. And once again, we really highly value your new ideas and project ideas and your unique backgrounds to the student that you will bring to the student council. And so if you're going to propose an idea that we haven't done before within MSc or RFS, we highly encourage you to write your proposal in detail as much as possible. Provide us with a timeline and let us know what are some bullet points that you want to see getting accomplished throughout the year, and what kind of resources that we as leaders can provide for you to be successful, and if there are any team members that you foresee working together. All of those details are really helpful for us to see that you really put a lot of thought and time into the application. Once again, if you have any questions about any of these suggestions, let us know via email. Next slide, please. So this is just an example application that was really great. Hanson, could you go to the next slide? So this person, in talking about their leadership experience, really highlighted with specificity what they have done and how their previous background could be applied to the role that they're signing up for within the student council. Hanson, could you just continue? I'm just highlighting certain important things from their application. And we don't encourage wordy application per se, but if you have very specific examples that you want to highlight and make connection between the position you're signing up for, then and also your previous experience, then we encourage writing as much as you can to really clarify that for us. Next page, please. And Hanson, you can continue to just highlight, go forward. Perfect. Yeah, and like I said, these are very specific project examples that helps us understand exactly what has been done before and what you want to add to the projects and that exactly how to get it done. If you need attending oversight from other institutions, attendings with special interest or backgrounds in something that you may not be aware of, that's the role of the MSc chair. We go to many meetings to represent what we do as students and to advocate for our projects. And so finding a mentor, finding a resident or a faculty to oversight your project is not a problem at all. And so you just have to let us know what you need and for us to evaluate if that's something that we can provide for you. Next slide, please. So that's my recommendation for anyone interested in applying to the student council. Really, it's a fantastic community, like Lisa said. I've really enjoyed being part of the student council for the last 3 years. I've been part of it since the first year of medical school, and IR is growing exponentially in interest across the country. But individually at schools, there aren't that many students, you know, a handful per institution who are really interested in IR. So being partaking in the student council since very early on allowed me to make friends who are as interested in IR as I am, and we helped each other really build our interest together and learn from each other because everyone's really coming in with unique background and unique interest. And so, you know, if not for the awesome projects that you can participate and the network that you can build, I also encourage you to join the student council for the lifelong friendship that you'll have, that you'll be able to make with your future colleagues in IR. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email us at sir.students@gmail.com. And I just want to thank everyone for the opportunity that I had this year to serve as the chair of the student council. Thank you.
Thank you, Lauren, for all your thoughts on the application process. And thank you, everybody, for attending our annual business meeting tonight. Please visit and bookmark the RFS website at rfs.sirweb.org, where you will find all the resources and content that our committees have generated, and where you will find the different projects that we have been working on. So please consider all the different projects that were discussed, as well as the initiatives that the different committees have proposed, and think about where you might fit within the MSc. We really encourage you guys to apply to the MSc and join our family. I think we can all attest that the MSc has been an amazing organization where we had the chance to meet motivated students from all across the nation, and has really made IR not only an interest for us, but as well as a community that we felt like we belong in. Additionally, if you utilize any social media platforms, please follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, or other social media platforms, where you will get the most up-to-date information regarding any events, or as well as other content that we are generating. And finally, thank you all again for attending this webinar. If you have any further questions for us, please contact us at our Gmail account, and we will get back to you shortly. Thank you, and have a good night.